So that was Brian Dable in the post-game conference giving a very blunt and simple assessment of the game. They were beat soundly, and Dallas did everything better than we did. Very, very, very plain and simple. So we are the three angry giant
Coach
fans.
Obvious.
So we are the three angry giant fans. Your host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Jets fan Novak. We also have a guest on tonight, Cardone's brother Greg, who's going to share a story about an altercation in the stadium. Guys, there's a lot of stuff going on this week. We have the Jets winning their opener, but Aaron Rodgers going down 4 plays into the game. We got the Giants just throwing up probably the worst game I've ever seen them play, let alone a home opener. We got pet peeves. We got questions. We got a lot of stuff that happened around the league week 1. Just a shit show of epic proportions going around. So before we get into that, let me do something here. We always give a shout out, and this is an interesting one. I picked the place we're going to give a shout out on, and then I found out something very interesting about this place while doing it. So hello, Liverpool, New York. It's a suburb of Syracuse, population 2,242, and it was originally called Little Ireland, but named Liverpool in 1830. So I think I know which one of our listeners is from Liverpool, and from the old Home Improvement series, the neighbor was Wilson across the fence. I think it might be Wilson that's listening to us.
That asshole that only showed half his face the entire fucking series. That guy.
Yeah, you never saw him. Just the only thing you saw was the top of his head. Hey there, little buddy.
Is Barney Rubble? What was that?
Actually, it was for like the captain at
that's
Island, wasn't it?
Yeah. Skipper.
Hey,
little buddy.
Hey, little buddy. So I went to the Wikipedia page on Liverpool, and I always see who is like they're notable people that live there. And it's the home of Adam Fullerton. Now, you guys may not know who Adam Fullerton is. So Adam Fullerton is actually my wife's cousin. He was a goalie in the Major League Lacrosse League. He played for the United States as well. He and his twin brother, Pat, went to West Point, where they both played lacrosse. But it's hilarious. He's like one of 5 notable people from Liverpool.
Also, it's a list of people who've never been in my kitchen.
The other, you said Liverpool. I thought that was going to be
Liverpool,
England, or something like that.
Yeah,
the Fab Four.
Liverpool, Syracuse. But the funny thing about Adam Fullerton is that first off, my son grew up idolizing him play lacrosse goalie, so that's one of the reasons he became a goalie. But we've just spent quite a bit of time with him and Steph's whole family because her uncle recently passed away. So that's Adam's dad. And then 2 weeks after the father passed away, their sister got married. So we've had joy, sadness, all this stuff going on in the last month. But it was really interesting to see Adam's name pop up there. And it's also the home of Tim Green. So one of those unintentional things that pops up. I never knew it, but I got to joke with him next time I see Adam. He's a celebrity. He's one of 5 best people in Liverpool ever.
Who knew?
What about Wilson? Where's Wilson rank on that list?
Wilson wasn't listed. I don't know where he is.
Come on.
The volleyball?
So guys, we have to start off jovial because I know we're gonna throw some shit at this. So I got to throw out a stat here just to precurse the debacle we saw. No team has ever lost by 40 or more points, lost the sack battle by more than 7 in a game, lost the turnover battle by more than 3 in a game, had a blocked field goal returned for a TD, or threw a pick 6, all in the same season. The Giants did this in one game. One game.
So, Scott, you just stole my thunder because that's exactly how I was going to start. Because I know when we were just going to start kicking us around, and that's obviously been a popular tweet that's been going around, right, in Giants fan nation. Sure enough, our buddy Lowe sent that one to me.
Yeah, your arch nemesis Lowe sent that to Chris. Wait, this guy is like, doesn't have one stat in his bones. He sends that stat.
Right. Exactly. This guy, and when I read that, I said, "Oh, that's how I'm starting tonight," because that will sum it up right there. Because how the hell else can you describe what we witnessed on Sunday night? This was of epic proportions. I know we've had 2.5 days to kind of already just digest this, if you will, and I've got a lot of the poison out. Sunday night, the anger. We'll talk about the 5 stages of grief. I was like Homer Simpson. If you guys remember that episode in The Simpsons where Homer visited the doctor, he was told he had 24 hours to live, and Homer went through the 5 stages of grief in about fucking 45 seconds. So that's the. I wouldn't say it was 45 seconds, but probably. Well, maybe that game seemed like it was over within the first 45 seconds. So, guys, we'll get into all this, but I don't want to talk for too long. Everyone's going to get a chance here, but that's what I was going to start with, Scott. Just thinking that those stats you just threw out there is absolutely unconscionable and disgraceful and epic that's never happened in the same season, let alone in the same game. So I'll kick it over to whoever wants to go next.
Whoever wants
and get rolling here.
Well, I'll give you another talking point too. The top 5 NFL leaders in pressures right now are Cowboys, and Jones was hit 14 times and pressured on 70% of his dropbacks, which was the highest rate of any game since they started compiling that statistic in 2019.
So I think I texted like before halftime. I think I texted the group here and said, guys, why does every loss to Dallas or the Eagles have to be this epic thing? Why, it's always got to be some stat from out of nowhere. This is the craziest thing ever. I mean, that stat is insane. But, like when we lost to the Eagles on the punt return, no game has ever ended on a punt return as time expired.
Mm-hmm.
Just why is it always got to be like the most epic fucking thing that ever happened, right? It can't be a 28-10 beatdown. And, the stats are fairly even. The Cowboys are a little bit better in most categories. No, it can't be that. It's got to be this just heart-wrenching thing that's over, in everyone's minds at the end of the first quarter. I just can't. I don't understand how this happens. I no idea why this team can't just do things normally like other teams.
Just lose normally.
Just do things like other NFL football teams do. I'm across the board angry. I'm not going to get it all out right now, but the shine is off of everybody right now. Everybody.
So now, Greg, you were at the game. So run us through pregame what the atmosphere is like. Then tell us what was going on, and then give us the breakdown of the situation you found yourself in.
Yeah. Well, first off, you guys literally have to get on at midnight after games like that, because this would be a hell of a different show. I mean, the F-bombs that my brother broke the record on one time, I think it was 200 plus. I mean, you guys would have 200 each at midnight. That's the first thing. So, because I'll fast forward, me and my brother are on the phone for an hour on the way home in the turnpike. So you can imagine that, fuck fest of a conversation. So,
but I said to Greg on Monday, so we're gonna be interrupting each other a lot here, I feel like, tonight, but because Greg was saying, he goes, man, you guys got to go on, on the next day, whatever. I said, I don't think we can. I said, I wouldn't be coherent. I wouldn't be audible. I wouldn't even make any sense to our listeners. It would just be an absolute just tirade of just, it wouldn't even be the English language in there. You have to be able to at least have a couple nights sleep just to digest what we witnessed. Go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. No, but we're all on edge here. So first of all, again, thank you for having me on. I'll start off very calm and thank you. I've been on the show a few times. It's I love it. And I think that's where the problem stems from, right? We have so much passion. We watch every single play. If you think about the 5 previous years, we had nothing to play for. We talked about it on this show. We're not even a team. We're not competitive. And all off seasons obviously from the last playoff game, debacle again against the Eagles, heading into this, preseason, we're just jacked up. We're just counting down the days, the whole thing. So you can imagine that heading into the, home opener, prime time. And it's crazy. We've gone to these games listen, I'll be honest. I was bold enough to say the New York Giants would win the NFC East. And when you guys make your predictions, so you might as well blow me right out of the water on that. I mean, so that's crazy enough. So, but in any event, listen, it was pouring rain Sunday morning, right? We're all excited. We have a big tailgate. We hang out with about 20, 25 folks there, guys. So you can imagine the rain stops. We drive up there. Everyone's excited. We get there psychotically, 4 or 5 hours before the game, set up our tents. I got a big, huge JBL. The music's flowing. We're playing, the drinks are flowing. We got the food. We're playing cornhole. Everyone's excited. You can imagine, right? Beautiful weather. It's not raining yet. So we're in there. So here's where it gets crazy. So I go with my oldest son and my youngest son. My other one's in college. And I have a buddy of mine, Chris knows very well, and Novak, you probably know him, DeLuise, Anthony DeLuise.
Oh, yeah.
So I know. I went to school with Blaze.
Exactly. Yeah. So we go up there for a good time. So Scott, here's my thing. You talk about a pet peeve coming right out. I got PTSD from Dallas fans from when I was 5 years old. I can't stomach these motherfuckers. I mean, they are the worst fucking fan base in America. I'm telling you right now, these I'll get into it. These fuckers, they don't even know what's going on. So just from the start. So I've been to Giant Eagle games. I've gone there with my Giant gear on. I've gone with my buddies. And I'll preface this with the first time I was going to the link. I said, hey, it was a 1 o'clock game, 9 o'clock. I go to my buddy Johnny. I go, hey, bud. I go, how bad are these fans here? I'm telling you, Scott, within a second, a beer can's like landing on my head. I'm not kidding. I'm like, holy shit. But anything they said throughout the game, you just sit there with a smile. You don't engage. You don't do nothing. You know your place. You don't even get up. Nothing. No, not these fucking fans. So we're in the parking lot, just chilling out, getting my drink on. And I just see there's Cowboy fans all over the place. I see 2 fans, and I just do the old, boo, What are they? They start barking back, like, just barking. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, just wave your hand, move along, and that's it. So then from there, I'm like, you know what? We're walking into the stadium all together, and we get into it. And this is the problem, Scott. It's like now I do lash out any Cowboy jersey I see. I saw Rodgers Staubach on the escalator, like 10 guys ahead of me. I'm just yelling, Staubach's a fraud. I mean, heads are just turning every which way. I'm yelling at a guy with an Emmitt Smith jersey. I'm like, he's a fraud. So, and they all engage. So I'm like, wow, these Dallas fans, they just don't back down. They don't have a lot of knowledge, I feel like, especially in New Jersey. They don't back down. So now to the altercation here. We're in the stadium. And we're down 6-0. Right? We're down 6-0. I think we already had our 3 and out afterwards. We're there. Dallas is coming back down again. And here come these 2 Dallas fans, right? Bang, where'd you know? Right in front of me. They walk in. One guy has like a button down, like white dress shirt, Trevor Lawrence hair. He's just got, he's got a beard in his hand, torn jeans. The other guy comes in with a Micah Parsons blue jersey, mind you. The actual cowboy hat that they wear in Texas and cowboy boots. They walk in front of me, and I turn to Dell. I go, this is going to be a problem. I mean, like, it is like, and I've had a couple of other altercations at the stadium where, again, I'm not a fighter. I've never had a fight in my life. I've only jumped in to help people, but I don't know what it is. It's like this is road rage for me in the stadium. I can't help it. I cannot help it. So they're there, right? And what do, guys? They got the beers up. Ah, Dallas! Dak! Like, oh my God.
So they're coming in late. They're coming into their seats mid-first quarter.
Mid-first quarter.
We got a dress shirt. Okay. I just want to catch up on.
And a Cowboy
hat. Diehard fans.
Right.
Okay.
In East Rutherford, New Jersey. Yeah. Yep.
So with this, I think they had, I remember the one play before it started getting crazy. They had like a 2 or 3 yard run, and they're screaming. And Mike, they already are Instagramming and TikToking all over the place. They're like, we're at the game. I'm like, oh my God. So with this, the one guy, he's like sideways the whole time to his buddy, right? He's directly behind me. So with this, there's a play. I think it's like 3rd down. I swear to God, it's like a 3rd down. It's a close play. Now, mind you, I'm already beaten down. I mean, I'm sitting there like this, guys, like minding my own business, like just petrified of what's happening. I'm like this. So this guy, mind you, is now like turning around, looking for anybody to look to acknowledge him, Dallas fans, anybody. But no, now a guy who's, locked in for 50 years going to these games, he now is like leering at me like this, like trying to get my attention and try to make eye contact. Finally, he gets in my eye vision, and I go, dude, turn the fuck around. 6-0. 6-0. I'm going, dude, turn the fuck around right
Six.
now. I'm
It's
like,
nothing.
Six.
Yeah.
Six.
I'm
Nothing.
like, turn the
Yeah,
fuck around right
it's a
now.
game.
So with this, he missed. I go, you just missed the play, fucker. You missed the play. I go, why don't you just celebrate with your friend? Leave me the fuck alone. Turn around and celebrate your friend. He's like, and then he just like kind of mumbles, what, I can't root for my team? DeLuise chimes in and goes, yeah, but not us. We're not Dallas fans. Turn around. So I am like through the roof here, Scott. Now I get another guy at three down, tapping me on the shoulder. Yo, man, calm down over there. I'm like, calm down. I'm like, who the fuck are you? From like, what is it, Revenge of the Nerds, Chris? What the fuck you want? So like, so now I'm dealing with this guy. I go, what the fuck you want? Yo, he's like, calm down. I go, calm down. I go, this motherfucker staring at me, yelling at me. So you can imagine so that guy, listen, I mean, the guy could have punched me, sent me to, off the stadium. He completely calmed down. He didn't do anything with me. But let me tell you something. They missed half the game. They were gone. They were in and out. And they just kept coming back screaming like they were there for every play. They stood for every goddamn play. They never even sat during a commercial. Never. Now, I like to stand up. I hate when they tell me to sit down. But that was crazy. The last part about this is funny because a couple of season ticket holders to my right are looking at me and they're giving so we're in the third row of the upper deck. That guy's obviously in the second row. The guy's giving this motion to basically launch him over the goddamn upper deck. So with that, again, they were leaving early, very early. They were still there, these guys. They got right in his face. And he's like, dude, you're lucky you're not over that side right now. And he just kept screaming and doing whatever he did. But I survived another altercation. I ended up apologizing to my boys. I even apologized even to DeLuise. And he's like, dude, you never have to apologize to a Dallas fan like that. He was like, fuck them, the whole thing. But that was the story. And yeah, it's just, it gets under my skin. I can't help it. And it's kind of crazy, but that was it. Yeah.
On home openers, though, I mean, there's a protocol there. I mean, it's a home opener. Everyone's jazzed up for being 0-0. And you're witnessing a blowout. If I'm an opposing fan, and I've been an opposing fan in most stadiums because I haven't made my way back to New York that often, you sit there and you just enjoy your team's success. You don't sit there and mock everyone else. You just enjoy your team's success.
Yeah,
you
Scott, one last thing.
Be a little excited up to 28-0, but after that, just relax.
But he goes, you guys from Texas? And they go like, yeah, we are. I'm like, okay, this is all now it's just beyond help now,
So
yeah, so that was it.
So I mean, guys, there's not a lot to break down about this game. I mean, when you look at this game, I saw the offensive line. So Glowinski and Neal were turnstiles and basically allowed jailbreaks on almost every snap. If you take them out of the equation, Schmitz wasn't terrible outside of a bad snap. Bredesen wasn't terrible. Thomas wasn't bad. Now Thomas tweaked a hamstring on a block field. Now talk about a terrible play all around. The block field goal, not only does it give Dallas a 6-0 lead, Zudu misses a block where he doesn't touch two guys that come running through. In the chaos that follows on that return, Andrew Thomas tweaks his hamstring. Graham Gano gets stepped on his ankle. Mm-hmm. So you got two guys now that are potentially injured for the next game. We're down 6-0, and everything just flew down from there. Then we all know about going down 13-0 on the pick six. I mean, and one of my questions here was, why at the end of the game did we still have our starters in there? I mean, why would Daniel Jones was taking hard hits with 6 minutes left in a 40-0 game? He should have been out. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Bengals game. Joe Burrow was pulled before the fourth quarter, during the fourth quarter. Why not pull Daniel Jones? The wet field, you're not going to accomplish anything. That's the part I stand back and I go, this could have really been disastrous.
The only thing I could say about that at the end of the game, what Jones was still doing it kind of hit me after the fact, because I was everybody was, not even Giant fans, every football fan that was watching that was like, what the fuck is Daniel Jones still doing in this 40-point blowout? And at one point, the camera locked in. It doesn't matter it was the third quarter, game was over, and the camera locked in and had a split screen of Brian Daboll and Joe Shane up in the booth. And I've been watching this game my entire life, and never, I think I mentioned this to you guys the other night, I've never seen a head coach in this league physically look that lost in the middle of a game. So I literally think by the end of the game, Daboll was so fucking like shell shocked, stunned, whatever you want to call it, that he literally stopped coaching. Is it possible that he could have didn't even realize what like Jones was still in there and what the situation was? I don't even know. I mean, I'm not putting it past the guy. I don't know what other reason. There is no reason what Jones was still doing in the game, but I don't know, guys. I mean, it was a monumental, just shell-shocking defeat of epic proportions, and I right down to all the way down to the coach. But I never have I seen Shane had just a lost look on his face, and this is like the middle of the third quarter. So Daboll just at that point, the game's over, obviously, but he literally stopped coaching from just a common sense standpoint.
There was a point in the game where I was going to text you guys, but I was terrified too. It looked like Neil was one of those guys in the street handing out flyers, as they walked by.
Yeah.
And this guy went right fucking around it. I'm like, Neil looks like he stood up straight. Here, take this as you go by.
The guy, ends every play looking at the other end zone. At the end of every play, Neil is turned around looking back toward the quarterback. Chris, you asked if it's possible. I don't think anything's off the table in terms of what happened out there because there is literally no NFL precedent for a game like this. There's nothing you could look back to and say, oh, remember when it happened 5 years ago, or remember when the Packers had that game. There's nothing that's ever been like this out there.
Well, the stats that Scott started tonight. Sorry, Scott. Like that's so that shows that's never happened in a season, let alone one game. So we had a disaster, literally. And guys, it happened by like halftime. It's not even the whole game. It was literally. I've never seen a team in the NFL I've never been that frightened of watching watching the Giants be that hopeless. And we've seen some bad teams, bad games where we just know we're not as good as the other team. That was, for the best word, just absolutely hopeless.
Well, and the way I heard it best described by one of my friends was that the offensive line allowed our team to be non-competitive. Throw everything else out the window. I don't know how many times I saw Micah Parsons at the line of scrimmage just look to see, okay, which guy is not paying attention to me, just run right around him very quickly and go right into the backfield. And Daniel Jones can't do anything about it because the man's literally not being touched. So imagine a team ignoring Lawrence Taylor and just saying, I'm not going to block this guy. I'm not even going to touch him. What would Lawrence Taylor have done back in the day?
Listen, again, going back to the stadium situation, there's such a high when you're at the stadium too. Such a high, the anticipation. And going back to Chris's point, I mean, everybody's shell-shocked. I mean, just shell-shocked. I mean, anger, and you couldn't even wrap yourself around it. It bled into Monday. It really was just that type of performance where how do you wrap your head around this? It's so crazy. As a matter of fact, I always say after a game like that, or there's not many, but, a bad loss or whatever, you listen to WFAN up here in New York, or you want, you say you're not going to do it, but, let me see. First caller I heard on WFAN, guy calls it. He take the call. He was Boomer and Gio. And the guy goes, Daboll's got to be fired. Jones has got to be traded. I mean, it was like, I go, give me, how do I turn this radio off? That's what it was doing. It was just making people just go fly off the handle. So it was just epic and whatever words you want to say. And it's just terrible.
Guys, however, was it a home opener years ago against Dallas?
Yes.
Was it a home opener where
I know which one you're going to bring up, Scott.
Emmett waved goodbye. Yeah. Was that a shutout as well? And
it was 35-0 the 95 season. Yeah. So it was, yes. That's the only game that game did cross my mind as this game was going on, and then the next day I thought about that. But still, from a statistical standpoint and from an expectation standpoint, it didn't even compare to Sunday night, because Dallas was in the middle of they won the Super Bowl that year. That was their third fucking Super Bowl in 4 years. They were the dominant team. The Giants were coming off like a 9-7 season in '94, where they were like, okay, they were trying to close the gap. So we've talked about this all off season. These 7 months waiting for this season with this head coach, Daniel Jones, we know everything. We know for that we are thinking that we got to close the gap. I was saying to people, the week leading up to it, no, fuck, it's not good enough just to play well. We got to win this game. We talked about it on our show here, guys, right? Novak, we talked about the Jets beating the Bills. We talked about, and this They had to win this game, and to not only not win it, to get just ass raped the way we did. I mean, you gotta. I'm serious. That's it. You gotta put it in that category because at no level, it doesn't even. I know our listeners are probably looking for us to just go wild tonight, but it's almost like how do you even break it down? There's almost no words other than punching a hole in the wall. What we saw. I will say this. I wanted to make one point in this little segment here because I did also the overreaction, Greg. Right? You're just talking about. There's always the overreaction after 1 week, but guys, I do want everyone's like thoughts about is it too much to overreact to say not that the season's over, but we know we can't compete with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care what happens in the next couple months. That was such a difference in talent, game, whatever you want to call it. We're not going to be able to compete with the Eagles and the Cowboys. I'm not saying this destroys the season completely because we got to wait at least to see what happens in Arizona. I know we'll talk about that before we end tonight. But as far as an overreaction, yeah, I will overreact a little bit because that was just incredibly. How do you recover from this? Really? That's
well, and I think that's a good segue. I am going to talk about overreactions here in a minute, but I think that's a good segue to a question Greg wanted to ask us because I think my answer at least will talk a little bit about this when he asks this question. So Greg.
Yeah. No, thanks, Scott. Yeah. So one of the things that I obviously talking to Chris, I said is I wanted to see how Dable was going to react and talk to his players because obviously what they say in front of the media and then what they're going to say behind the scenes is different. And I coached youth sports and, you think you have all the right words or we watch the games and go, oh, we should have done this, should have done that. But this, again, so unprecedented, so epic. I mean, what does Dable do? So my question to you guys is this, like talking about the overreaction. Is this something that, you don't put the film on? Is this something that you break down every single play? Is this something that you throw the chair type of situation? Or is this like, rally the troops? So my overall question to the group is just basically, how do you do this? How do you take from this and how do you move forward and how do you, dissect that with your coaches and your players and just the overall thing? Because, from what I saw at Dable, at least seemed like they were acting like it was no big thing, but it's more than just a opening season loss. So that I'll throw that out to you guys.
Well, I think you could go a couple different directions with this. So, I mean, I like this question a lot because, I think our personalities are all different. So we might have a different take on this. If I'm Dable here, because this thing is so historically bad, I am chalking this up as an outlier. I am saying, guys, there are things we got to clean up for sure, especially on the offensive line. But let's just say, fuck what happened and let's move forward. Now, I'm Dable. I'm not wearing Giants gear today. I'm wearing Derek Jeter's jersey. I might walk into that locker room with an amp pipe jersey on because I'm going to say, guys, I need your best effort before I put Giants gear back on. But Greg, honestly, I think after something so bad as that, you know what you do? You pull like a Bad News Bears highlight reel up. You show what the Packers did the last 2 years in their home openers or their home opening games, and you say, guys, move forward. We got 16 games left, and we are just going to put this behind us.
Yeah.
I would say, as the host with the most experience with epic beatdowns, what I might say is, you know what? Throw it to the captain, right? Throw it to the player that these guys are going to look up to. I think a coach speak is going to fall on deaf ears in this situation, in my opinion. I think you throw it to the guys that everyone's going to most respect to give them hell. But that was how I would do it. And like I said, I have a lot of experience with this.
Novak, what I like about that is back in the old day, you had a captain to throw to. The Giants have 10.
Yeah, they have a bunch. Yeah, that is true.
What about you guys, Mike, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can sit there in a room and turn the lights off and roll the film and just spend that much time beating up this team. I don't think you can do it. I mean, it's just because honestly, if you go back and you watch it again, and I will never watch it again. I'm burning the tape. I didn't even watch the whole thing the first time. I'm going to talk about that later. But I don't think you can do that because if you go back and you look at some of the key moments, the key plays, a lot of it was luck. A lot of it was lucky bounces and there was that, and then it just sort of steamrolled out of control. But I'm not saying that Dallas was not by far the better team on the field. I'm not saying that the win was lucky. I'm just saying some of the things that started that fire were a little fortunate for Dallas to have happened. You miss a block on a field goal, you get a false start from a guy who hasn't had a false start in over a year to set that up. Multiple fumbles in the game from Dallas that bounced right back to Dallas guys. But the game was over by all that happened. So, I just don't think. I think kind of the same answer as Scott. I think you bring them together. You say, guys, it's got to be better than that. It's got to be better by a lot. You all know what you did wrong. We're not going to sit in there and watch this tape. I'm not going to beat up everyone for every little thing. That's completely unacceptable effort. Now, the scary thing about it is, and this is where I'm kind of going to start steering the other direction, is we have, if you, and I don't think there's any overreacting to this. This is so epic. There is no overreaction that anyone could have on any level. But if you think about what this means, this either means that our offensive line has regressed somehow to a point that is unfathomable, considering the amount of capital that we've thrown into it, or Dallas has an 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens type defense. So one of those two things is probably true, and they are both awful things for us. Either one of those things is terrible to think about.
Well, we've talked about the O-line for 5 years. We can't go back.
No.
That's a good segue, Mike, into that, because this is another, you guys, again, the fucking sports media, you know how I feel about every single minute of it, the recap, which I didn't watch any of it. I had, press conferences, I watched nothing on Monday, that's for damn sure, and I couldn't even watch any of the Giants stuff online or wherever, just couldn't listen to it. But, yeah, the old, Giants this bad or Dallas this good? Well, I don't know, assholes, can it just be like sometimes it's just a perfect storm and both those things happen in the same game? You know what I mean? Like, because Dallas isn't going to be that good next week, and the Giants aren't going to be bad the next week either. So isn't it just quite possible that both these freaking things happened on the same night, and that's what makes it so epic? Do we have to have that question where one or the other happened? Can it just be fine? Both of them both things just happened. That's it.
Yeah.
But like the coaching, I'm saying as far as the Greg's question, I don't want to drag us on too long, but it definitely, I like Novak's point too around, it's got to come from like a leader in the locker room, whoever that player is, the veteran player. But Dable as the head coach has to say something. He's still, because this is only his 18th game or whatever it is coaching this Giants, so he doesn't have the long tenure of being there forever. So he still has to gain the trust of some of these guys, even after last year, and we know all that stuff. So he still has to make at least a statement and say, guys, like, this is on me. Don't blame yourself like all head coaches do. Guys, this is on me. He goes, but here's what's going to happen. Okay, this week got the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not going to worry about Sunday night anymore. So I'm going to look at my coordinators and say, you, and the team, coaches, everybody, we're going to come up with a great fucking game plan this week. We're going to work our ass off in practice this week. We're going to clean up everything. We're going to win against the Arizona Cardinals. This is on me, but every single one of you guys, players, coaches, staff, everybody has to look themselves in the mirror and say, what is, dig deep down, put this behind us, move forward. And who's on board, man? Let's go. And we're going to win on Sunday. Boom, let's go. That's it.
I'm fired up, Cardone.
Yeah, I'm fired up.
Yes. You sound like Brandon Tierney when he was talking about the Jets when they won.
That's what has to be said. That's it. Just say, like, every guy's accountable. Look yourself in the mirror. You're all grown men. You got to, so if you got to, like, motivate these assholes at this level, that's the other thing that's crazy. Like, you got to be motivated. Greatest line ever, Bill Parcells leading it to Super Bowl 21. Some asshole must have asked him, like, how do you get you guys motivated for this game? Classic Parcells, like, this is the Super Bowl. If you can't get motivated for this game, take a hike. I mean, now, week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals is not Super Bowl 21, but same concept here, guys. We're like I love how we have to motivate, like NFL, like professional football players. You got your ass kicked. Like, be embarrassed. These guys should be embarrassed. This is your, like show some pride, man. Go into the game next week and just recover as best you can. And they'll play a better game, obviously, but just go in there and say, like, if Jim Fassel saying, like, we're, all chips are in, we're winning next week. Do something like that.
Well,
to answer my own question, though, Scott, you guys did a great job, and I think you got Dable is this type of guy, right? Dable's not gonna, grab Evan Neal and shove his face into the goddamn, videotape and and do that, because you're going to lose these guys, right? But you can't have the pussification of America and coddle these guys, obviously. No. what you have to do is, I tell you, you would do something like you said, creative. I might get the film and the old film thing, make a bonfire, light it up on fire and go, because I tell you what, you talk about DVRing. I go to the games. I have to DVR because you miss so much. I didn't put one play on, and I never had. And even on the worst of worst games, I'll DVR and watch it. So if I'm those guys, if I'm the coaches, I'm watching. I'm not showing the players again, and I'm doing all the other inspirational stuff of like, let's go, let's run through the goddamn wall together and go on. And Gable's great. He actually was pretty damn good in the post game. He was no Joe Judge or Pat Shermer. That's for sure.
Oh,
What is a Daniel Jones going to get from watching that tape? Because if that's what he has to work with, there's no. Why would I watch a tape on that? Yeah. That's not the way things are supposed to go, and it's nothing I'm doing. I'm taking a snap.
You know what? I want to see the tape because I want to see the 7 fucking plays that he wasn't considered pressured on. Which ones were those? which plays were 20 out of 27? Where? He was pressured on 28 out of 27 plays. Like, what is it? What are they talking about? What 7 plays where he wasn't pressured? Where? The one he fumbled? Like, what are you talking about?
The handoffs to Barkley.
Well,
yeah. He wasn't pressured. The handoffs to Barkley.
Exactly.
And you know the best part about that is when they highlight the play that he might have even a little more time than he had been getting. They're like, look, he makes a terrible decision here. It's like, well, hell, the guy is like ran for his life 11 out of the last 12 plays. So this one, you expect him to be perfect and see the guy that's open that's gonna drop the ball anyway.
Yeah, and by the way,
go ahead, Colonel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not that this matters at all because who gives a shit, but like this stuff it does drive me crazy. Like just everything drives me crazy. So in the middle of the game, they were saying that Daniel Jones, they showed his stats and they were showing 2 INTs, and I'm like, 2 INTs? I said, I know he had the one. Where's the other one? Like, they're wrong. And then I went to the box score on my phone. I said, where the hell is his other interception? And then I looked at the scoring summary, and I go, these sons of bitches gave the. So Saquon Barkley's the star. So I called it the fumble 6, not a pick 6. I'm like, oh, the fumble 6, that one? How the hell they gave that interception to Jones instead of a fumble by Barkley is just bullshit. Like, not that it matters, but like I always favor the quarterback in these things. I watched that. That's the only play I watched a couple times. Barkley he made like 7 football moves and then fumbled the ball.
Well, and the fans weren't the only ones mailing it in on the second interception. How aggressive was the replay on that? Did they even replay that turnover? Because if you see some angles, not only is the ball bounce before it goes into the defender, it bounces after he supposedly caught it when he rolls over. So terrible decision by Daniel Jones. Not saying anything that he should not have thrown that. But again, we will sit there and look at a play for 5 freaking minutes sometimes. This one is just like, whistle it and play in first down Cowboys.
That ball should have been intercepted, but it was not intercepted. There's absolutely no question about it. I mean, you have to do your own, like Greg said, you have to go do your own DVR replay on it. Ball's not intercepted. And just for the record, that is the last play of the game I watched.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What?
That was it, Mike?
That was it. That was the last play of the game I watched.
And no DVR.
No, I haven't gone back and watched anything. No, I haven't even.
You missed
the only thing I've looked
game,
at,
Mike.
The only thing I've looked at sports related is articles about Justin Fields. That's it. The only thing I've looked at.
We got to get into that later.
Just to soothe my soul.
Can't wait to slip him in. I knew he would.
I left after the first series of the second half. Matter of fact, I turned to Dell. I think it was in the middle of the second. I go, we're going to be out of here by halftime. I go, and I've never said that in my life at that stadium. And then somehow, I think I numbingly sat through the halftime. I don't even know who was out there. I was just like stunned at this point, looking at a Cowboy guy in front of me. And then I think it might, I'm not sure if it was at this point or even in the third quarter, I got to get the hell out of here. Not being a Ranger fan here, somehow I think they had like multiple Rangers up in the suite. I think we're down 30, 40, nothing. I don't even know what the hell the score was. 25, 30, nothing. Doesn't matter, right? So they show the Rangers, everyone's going crazy in the crowd. And then they play the Ranger goal song, right? And then, hey, I see this jackass about 5 feet away from me. I'm telling you, he ripped a rotator cuff with the fucking, hey, I'm like, you're losing 30, nothing, the fuck off.
Now, one thing I'm going to disagree with Mike a little bit on is the overreaction part, because, guys, I did watch some footage on Monday of like the game, just the football shows and stuff like that, Good Morning Football, things like that. Everyone and their mother has the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl and the Giants basically going winless. And that's the biggest, to me, the biggest fallout of this game from a fan standpoint is you now have the Dallas train rolling like it does every fucking year this time because they always get off to a quick start. Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. The Giants are going to be, fucking mired in mud. And it doesn't help that the Giants are in last place, the only team in the NFC East that did not win. It's just it's going to snowball from here if we don't get a win in Arizona.
Well, it would be different this year if Dallas doesn't fade. I mean, I talked about it last week when I was predicting my score. Dallas always comes out of the gate. Every year they come out of the gate.
You nailed that, Mike.
And they're famous faders. They just obviously they haven't been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years, so they must be fading if they come out of the gate so fast. But Scott, I want to just re-ask you that question. If we lose to the Cardinals next week and Dallas blows out the Jets,
I mean, I do look at that differently. I mean, I will say that I think. I just think there's an overreaction there on week one, where everyone now, like you said, the Dallas is now the 85 Bears. I mean, and it even was doing it in game. You might not have even been around at that point, but Collinsworth was talking about the dynamic Cowboy offense. At the time the Cowboys had that lead, they really got a drive extended on a ridiculous pass interference call on Hawkins on 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 15, wherever the fuck it was. And then you got points on a drive where they had a blatant clear out where CeeDee Lamb is wide open, where if the Giants run that play, there's 7 flags on the fucking field.
Yeah, that was a terrible pick play. I mean, there was no attempt made to disguise that.
So when you look at the the feedback, it's that not only are the Cowboys defense great, but now we're giving like Mike McCarthy like kudos for his play calling in a game where actually I think the Giants outgained Dallas, or it was close to it. And Dak didn't have a great game.
No, I mean, but nobody knows anything about Dallas's offense because they didn't have to use it. I mean, but by the time the offense got out there for a real drive, they could be in preseason mode. They didn't have to show any. I bet the Jets coaches are madder than Giants fans at the Giants this week because they didn't get to see shit. Now they saw a lot of the defense, but right. Dallas basically went into shell mode in the second quarter on offense.
Well, and I think that's part of the. We fucked ourselves. Not only in that game, but then the Jets sort of fucked us too by Rodgers getting injured because now they got to face the Cowboys with Zach Wilson. So I do want to put this debacle behind us. Greg, you're more than welcome to stay on board if you're going to stay tonight. If not, do you have any parting comments?
Yeah. So listen, you talk about a must-win next week is an understatement. I mean. We know the schedule. If we lose next week, I mean, all hell's going to break loose. It really is because, Chris mentioned, I think the last time on these automatic losses, I think he has Buffalo and, San Francisco's automatic losses. If that's the case, if we don't win Arizona, where's the win coming from in the first 6 with, a Seattle primetime game at Miami, obviously is now a juggernaut. I mean, this is setting up to be, a la Joe Judge. I mean, this is nuts. Yeah. So, I will be in front of my TV at 4:05 like an absolute wreck. I memean, give me back the Joe Judge season when I wasn't even watching the games and watching Red Zone. I mean, I can't be stressed out like this. So the debacle's the debacle. I'm still now I'm scared to death because I was so confident, and now I was up here and now I'm way down here. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a 1-score game either way. I really believe that. I do not think the Giants will blow them out. I think Arizona, it's a home opener. I think it's going to be a 1-score game. It's going to be low scoring. We're not going to go from 0 to 24, 30 points. I just don't see that. That's maybe my angriness coming out, but I'll leave this parting gift. I think the Giants will squeak out something like 20-16, something like that.
All right, I was gonna bottom line you want to score before you left. Yeah, so that's great.
20-16. I think Arizona will have the ball and somehow, some way we will survive like some bullshit into the end zone. a la Gronkowski, who didn't die for the Super Bowl, and we ended up winning, and we're going to celebrate just like that in that stadium again. Although that was a different Super Bowl. That was the Indianapolis one where he didn't die for the Hail Mary. So
awesome. We're glad to have you. You're welcome
Thanks,
anytime on the podcast. So
you got it, man.
Everyone,
enjoy, guys.
See you, brother.
Looking forward to listening to the rest of it. Get after
all right.
and fuck Justin Fields too.
Yeah. So, Greg just brought up a great segue here. You know why? Because I want in the dick. But so speaking of stressed out games for the Giants, and you guys know I love doing like research, right? I love going to Pro Football Reference and all that. I went back the last 6 full seasons for the Giants. And we know that they haven't won hardly any freaking games, right? So the number's going to be small. But I wanted to go back and look since the 2017 season, the total, including the playoff games, a total of 101 games. A total of 101 games. How many games do you suppose the Giants have won by more than 1 score? The number is actually higher than I thought.
10?
Good guess. Mike, why don't you take a stab?
I was thinking 12.
Yeah. I mean, Novak, if you care, just for the 7. 7.
Oh, really?
7 out of 101 football games in the NFL has our team won by more than 1 score. I mean, that's insane. Think about that. So that's what 94 games have been within 1 score. 94, and they've lost most of those. Obviously, that doesn't count all the blowouts, losses, all that. It's just that's insane, man. That's how bad this Giant team has been for a while.
I mean, we are way more familiar with Grey Goose losses than Grey Goose
Grey
wins.
Goose. Well, glad you brought that up, Mike, because that's what I was saying to Greg. I said, can you imagine flipping that game? And this, I know we want to move on to the next, to put the Cowboy shit behind us. But I just said, can you imagine being on the other side of that and the winning side of it? I have no idea what that feels like. Can you imagine feeling that good? Being the Dallas Cowboys winning that game. It's not even possible to feel that way.
Just looking that good and then getting the bounces too in one game.
I'm
That's
sure
why I'm going to laugh my ass off if the Jets beat them.
I'm sure there was some times in 86 we had a couple of those, but
so I will put that game behind us. We're 50 minutes into the pod. And we haven't even talked about what everyone else has talked about on Monday night. So Aaron Rodgers comes out running with the American flag, and that's his Jet highlight for his career, possibly.
Look, man.
I will say this, Novak. I mean, he saw 3 more plays than Lincoln did.
Look. He comes running out of that tunnel, and I'm thinking, I fucking made it. This is my time. I have finally reached my time. I was shaking. I was so excited. And then, 15 minutes later, dashed again. Guys, I'm going to go on a 4-point rant here. This 100% is a curse. This fucking franchise is cursed. It is the Joe Namath curse. Have you heard of this curse before? 100%.
Yeah.
The second that Joe Namath guaranteed a victory back in '69, the NFL gods said, you want this guaranteed victory? You can have it. You can have Super Bowl III. But here's how the NFL and the teams that are in the NFL are going to fuck this organization and your fans for eternity. So let me start with the Colts, right? Colts, Johnny Unitas, Don Shula. Colts said, fine, you can beat us in Super Bowl III. But in 2 years, we're going to send Shula to your division, and he's going to outcoach your list of loser coaches for 25 years. He's going to take Dan Marino, who you will pass on for Ken O'Brien. And someday when you get the number 1 pick back, there's going to be a generational quarterback named Peyton Manning who's going to decide to stay in fucking college and pass up the opportunity to play for the Jets. He's going to go to the Colts and be a Hall of Famer. This is the Packers. Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr, right? You want to win Super Bowl III? Fine. Someday we're going to not trade you 1, but 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The first one's going to be a narcissistic a-hole that will embarrass the hell out of your organization the 1 year he is there by sending pictures of his junk to sideline reporters. And when he's there, we're going to plug in the second Hall of Fame quarterback who's going to turn into an insufferable dick, and we're going to trade him to you, and he's going to play 4 plays before tearing his Achilles on national television. This is the NFL, third point. You want to merge with the AFL? Fine. You can have Super Bowl III, and you're going to have a rivalry with a team in Boston? No problem. But someday there's going to be a coach better than Lombardi, and he's going to coach you for one day, and he's going to leave you in the most embarrassing fashion possible. And then, that doesn't end there. The first time you play them, your own player is going to knock out their quarterback. And in comes a guy named Brady to torment you for 20 years, winning 6 Super Bowls. And then finally, you three, your beloved Giants, Wellington Mara. I don't even know who played for the Giants back then. Frank Gifford, Sam Moss. I don't even care. You can have Super Bowl III, but someday you're going to share a stadium with us. And we're going to name it Giants Stadium. And you and your loser fans are going to take escalators up, staring at Giants Stadium. And then one day, when you start calling it Jeff Life, you're as good as the 85 Bears, you're comparing it, you're on Hard Knocks. We are going to purposefully have the Giants put on an epic, gutless, pathetic performance on a Sunday night so that you can feel as if you own New York. And then 24 hours later, we're going to find a way to make it painfully worse for you and your fans. This is the Namath curse. It is real, and this organization is going to suffer for eternity. And the hardest part about this, who's going to be sitting there on Sunday watching this godforsaken franchise, praying that they can actually win a game? Me. So that's my rant.
I love it. I love that.
Absolutely
That
epic.
was
That is worth having Novak on the pod. Just
legendary, dude.
That segment.
That was, well, first thing I wanted to say when you were done was, well, when you put it that way.
That's awesome.
I even forgot a couple of lines. I was going to say, you know, we were playing in Giant Stadium and we were your bitches for 20 years. Like I had stuff about the Chiefs. I cut it out because it's too long. Guys, I am anger. I have gone through despair. I'm at the anger stage now. I am so pissed that I got to deal with Zach Wilson again. Like, how? Come on. You got to have pity for me.
Now, you know I do not like the dick, but I will tell you this. During that game, it was so frustrating to me. Every fucking internet doctor is like, oh, he tore his Achilles. You could see the bulge in the back of his leg here. You know, they're going through these things that they have said over and over again in other instances that they've been completely wrong on. This time they turned out to be true. And Novak, I will say this too. You sort of called this, say, Vinny Testaverde.
I did.
What if
and
Rodgers
Vinny
comes in
you
and
called it
he's
right
like,
away.
And Vinny was there doing the ceremonial coin toss. You morons. Why would you do that? Anyone but him in the coin toss.
That's a bad choice.
That's-
This is by far the most downtrodden a fan base has ever been after a thrilling come from behind overtime win.
Totally.
It's impossible.
The mixed emotions is off the chart, right?
I can't
It was
even
like,
imagine.
you know, when you have like a really bad experience or whatever, and you have a moment of happiness, and then that goes away, and you're like, oh crap, we don't have a quarterback. Like you forget about it, and then you remember it again. I woke up the next day like, oh, we won. I'm like, wait a minute, we lost our quarterback. It's a disaster of epic proportions with this team, and it doesn't end ever.
You know, you say that, and I look at again, overreaction to week one, but I look at the way the Giants lost, and I look at the way the Jets won, and I say, you know, if the Jets defense can play like that, it doesn't matter if Zach Wilson is back there. They're probably going to get more wins than the Giants if the Giants' offensive line plays the way it does.
But the problem is, I don't disagree with you, and I'm going to be behind Zach. And yeah, they can get in the playoffs, but it's always going to be what could have been, right? Yeah. Zach could get us to 10 wins. If we had Rodgers, we could have had 13. If we get to a divisional win, we could have gone to the Super Bowl. It's always going to be one step more unless they win it all, and that is hard to wrap your head around.
The fact is, there's no one that believes that they have that they're as good a team or have as good a chance and all that with Wilson versus Rodgers. I mean, you guys know how I feel about the dick, but you know what it is? I thought about this. The other thing I was going to say at some point tonight, and it's Giants and Jet fans, right? Because we know, and Novak, like, you know, I'll be honest, I don't know a ton of Jet fans. Obviously, you know, I know your love and passion for this team equals ours with the Giants, of course. Doesn't matter really even who your team is. You know what I mean? Like we always talk about the intelligent fan, the intense fan, and that's the four of us, right? And watching the way the Giants lost, and then you could almost equal that, or I don't know what's worse. Is it the Rodgers injury? It doesn't matter. Like one's worse than the other. It doesn't. So, but if the bottom line is guys like us, I think about this really honestly, guys. It's first of all, it's just not fair, man. It's just, and that just sounds like such a cliche thing to say. Oh, it's not fair. We don't deserve, we don't deserve it. You know,
No.
that's what, and that's kind of what Greg was talking about, the guys and the fans, and you see, because most. I don't know I don't know what you guys would say is the majority of football fans. They're the casual fan. They're the fantasy football player. They're not. They don't. I've had so many altercations with guys like they'll Panthers or something like that. I'll bag on the Panthers. Oh, what the hell's the difference, Cardone? I'm not really a Panther fan anyway. I like the so and so. Oh, you can't have it both ways. I've been asked that. Cardone, who's your second favorite team? No one. I hate 31 other teams. Always have and always will.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah.
But it's what I mean as far as the level of disdain. But when you love our teams that much, and I know there's got to be other fans of other teams that feel the same way as we do, but we take this so seriously and with so much intensity. I had friends and people ask, literally texting me like someone died, a couple days, and I appreciated every one of them, and it's weird, right? It's literally like you go through those waves of emotions where I'm not dealing with this right now, and I know everyone means well. These are my friends, that are like texting, and there's a little bit of a kind of like, dude, where they're rubbing it in, but at the same time, it's like, Cardone, you doing okay, man? You all right? And I'm like, yeah, thanks, because they know how much it like. Yeah,
I had that. I looked on my work Slack thread, and people were going, "Someone do a wellness check on Novak."
Yeah.
Like no one knew how I was doing. Like I was literally like Cardone. You said you blacked out once.
I did.
Or lost your vision.
I lost vision after the 0-2 wild card loss. Yes.
I don't remember the first half. Not a thing. Yeah. I don't remember one play. I don't remember one text. I think I was texting you guys. I don't know. I was so in despair as to what happened, and people just who are not passionate fans, like, oh, it's just a football game. It's just a team. Like, come on. Like, it means a lot. It just does.
It means a lot.
It just does.
Greg mentioned it. Greg talked about Cowboy fans, and he's 1,000% right. I mean, Bry Peacock knows how I feel about him with the Cowboys. I mean, he's 100% right. They are the most insufferable fan base, I think, in sports, actually. Pretty close with the Yankees, maybe. It's close. But no, I'm just kidding, guys. But here's how bad this game was. I have friends of mine who are Cowboys fans who are like, dude, the Giants aren't that bad, man. Like this is a fluke, and I'm like, stop it. No, you don't get to pity me. Who are you? You guys haven't won shit in 30 years. Fuck off. You don't rub it in. I want it. I can take it.
But I will say that, I mean, that sort of snowballs into that casual fan thing. The casual fan will have those overreactions to week one. They will do things like, hey, this guy's going to get the MVP at the end of the year after week one. And it just sort of snowballs from there. I think that's where we try to bring a little bit of a level set, is that, guys, shit game for the Giants, terrible luck for the Jets. But we realize that next week, we have to move forward, and both as a fandom and as a football team, and whether or not, if we lose to Arizona, holy shit, I hate to see what happens. And you know what? To me, the Jets almost have a bonus game against Dallas. It's sort of like a tryout to see, is Zach Wilson going to be okay this year? If Zach Wilson goes out there and it's 40-0 again, Dallas is probably the 85 Bears.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Next week's the most terrifying week of football coming. I am more afraid of this week of football coming up than any week of football I've had. The things that could potentially happen this week that could have a devastating effect on not just this season. I'm not even talking about that. If the Giants lose to the Cardinals, I'm dead serious, guys. They might as well trade Barkley and Jones, because this team can't go forward from here.
Yeah.
I mean,
we need draft picks. It needs to be wiped out. Now, that's a huge overreaction to Scott's point, but it's on the table right now. Like, the door is open for that to begin to happen next week. And I just don't want to see it. And
I
if
think
the Cowboys take advantage of Zach Wilson at the same time, I don't want to live in a world like that.
Here's the thing I'm most afraid of with this. And it's if the Giant offensive line woes are systematic, and it's going to happen throughout the year. Guys, we play, put Arizona aside, win or lose. We play San Fran 4 days after that. They have one of the best defenses out there. We play the Cowboys again. We play the Eagles twice. We play Washington, who as a team is not great, but they have a great defensive line. We play the Jets. The Jets defense, fantastic. I mean, we're going up against some defensive lines that you can consider as elite. And I'll tell you another defensive line not to sleep on, the Bills. You know, so and we all know about that. That's a Sunday night game for us in Buffalo. So when we start talking about the offensive line, not only do they have to get their shit together, they got to get together quick. And we got to figure out, too, if Andrew Thomas has a hamstring, do we play him against Arizona, see how he does, and then maybe sit him against San Fran and wave the white flag, or do you do the opposite? Do you sit him against Arizona, let him heal up, let him play against San Fran, where we're going to probably get demolished on the other side of the ball, on the other side of the line? You know,
from what I saw from this offensive line, if you pull Andrew Thomas out of it,
can you guys hear Mike?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. I can't.
Okay, sorry. I thought I had muted myself for something. If we pull Andrew Thomas out of this game against the Cardinals might as well be the Cowboys. The rest of the offensive line can't block. I don't know. I heard somebody, trying to fix the offensive line on Twitter, and they said, Thomas is just a great player. We can play him anywhere. We should move Neal to left tackle, where that's his natural position. I'm like, are you insane? Do you hate Daniel Jones? Like, why would you do that?
Let's stay on the offensive line here for a minute if we can, guys, because I like to think of myself as a pretty intelligent football fan, and I kind of know the game. I never played offensive line, so I don't, but why can't this line get better? What is it about the Giants offensive line with 31 other NFL teams? I watched a lot of NFL football on Sunday. It's the most I probably watch all year is week one, because it's week one and the Giants were playing Sunday night. So, watching all those games, and, here we are playing the Cardinals. I watched a lot of the Cardinal Redskin game. I was thinking, I thought the Cardinals were just this trash team. I'm like, they don't look so bad. What's wrong with the Cardinals? Everybody competes, so what is it about the Giants offensive line that can't be fixed? Is it technique? Is it footwork? Is it schemes? What is it? Am I not smart enough to just understand why this team just can't figure it out? I literally don't get it, guys. I'm absolutely so distraught about this offensive line. We've been talking about it since we started this pod, and we know how, and they continue to be the worst offensive line in all of football, and by a mile.
Well, and I think Novak brought this up on a previous pod. I know he's brought it up in text. I mean, it's systematic throughout the NFL. I look at the Bengals offensive line, the way they played last week. Look at the way, I mean, even in the Jets game, the Bills offensive line looked like a sieve. Now, it's probably compounded by the fact when you're playing a good defense, your offensive line is going to look bad. But offensive line play in the NFL right now is pretty damn shitty.
I mean, Carl Banks, who was a Giant announcer, who I love, by the way, he was on FAN today, and he said exactly that. There is a problem in the NFL with offensive linemen not being up to the quality of the defensive linemen they're going against. They're more athletic, they're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger, and this is a problem that is not getting better, which is why I think you're seeing they're allowing the tackles to have that one step back before the count, because they're three guys in on every play.
And this is why we don't see that many holding calls, because they don't want to penalize. They want to favor the offense, I think. This is why you don't see those, deep seam passes and things, ball getting down the field. I mean, you still see the ball outside the numbers. But look around the league, guys, and it's so true. You see it's a quick – the ball's released quicker than ever. It's all these checkdowns. It's slant routes. It's not. We grew up in we've been watching this for 4 decades, of football, and it's true. The offense just can't generate any rhythm.
Nothing.
There's no rhythm on the offense, especially in the passing game. You're right, guys. It's true. It's an epidemic right now. What's going on? How the defensive lines are dominating the offensive lines in the NFL, and how do you fix it? I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. Everything you guys just said, I agree 1,000% with. but it hurts the Giants, I think, more than most teams, maybe not more than every team. But for one thing, they haven't been able to block anybody for 4 or 5 years. So any defense that plays them smells blood in the water. The Giants do not get a break. We get blitzed on nearly every down of every game. I mean, the only time we don't is when we're being dominated so hard that the other team doesn't have to blitz to get pressure, which also happens a lot. But I'll tell you this right now. The Giants put a lot of faith that Evan Neal was going to get better. And I don't think that he has. I mean, it's one thing to get beat by Micah Parsons. Every player gets beat by Micah Parsons, but they were just rotating people in to beat Neal. It didn't matter who they had in there. That is terrifying. And he looks slow, and he looks. I've never heard of this affecting anybody this much, but he looks out of place. He doesn't look comfortable at right tackle. It's bad. It's really bad. And unless we get a break and play a team that for whatever reason Neal's able to block, we'd have a hard time beating anybody.
Hey guys, I got to throw this out there because we saw the injury to Rodgers. We've seen the injuries to the Giants in the past. Now, I know that MetLife changed the field. There's been a call just this week now with some of the injuries we've seen in week 1 to move every field to grass. Does that fix this problem? I mean, it keeps Eli from inhaling an entire, or not Eli, but Jones from inhaling an entire tire from all those freaking specks that were going on the entire night. But I mean, Novak, you're living this right now. Do you think it's turf that caused Rodgers' injury? Is that injury happening on Soldier Field, or what do you think?
No way to know. I really don't blame the turf there. I mean, if you look at how his foot went down and how he pushed forward, you can see it get rolled up. I don't think the turf had something to do with it, but I do agree that I think that the grass is going to help, right? And the only reason MetDeath doesn't have it is because they have to have fucking Taylor Swift there, so they can't roll in a grass field. But again, like I said the last time, was one of my pet peeves. 2 of the richest organizations in all of sports, all 4 major sports, and we can't get a grass field because we got to have Taylor Swift. Come on. Who, by the way, is dating Kelsey now, apparently. But whatever. Geez, really? That doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so what if the fucking turf gets ripped up and they playing on patches of dirt? Like, who cares?
Exactly.
The players would still favor that over the turf. What is it? What is it for? Is it the aesthetics for TV?
They could roll in a new grass field.
Ripped up.
They could roll with the amount of money these 2 teams make. They could roll in a new grass field every week and still make billions.
By the way,
teams in the 70s and 80s played on a baseball infield.
Yeah,
during the flipping game.
Yeah. Cleveland, they used to fucking spray paint the whatever. They used to spray paint the dirt green.
Oakland, you just played on the dirt.
Exactly. As
and
Mike just said, in the infield. But yeah, of course and this is obviously all about the dick too, right? I mean, first of all, no, that play, he had a 300-pound lineman hanging on him. So that injury, regardless, they really got to separate the Rodgers injury from like all the non-contact injuries.
Correct.
2 different categories. Okay.
100%.
Now, Aaron Rodgers had a lineman hanging on him and said, like, there's no way I'm going to sit there and believe that
I'm not blaming the turf there. No.
Caused his Achilles to rupture there. Come on, man. I mean, I know it's a good narrative and it's in a story, but I love how the NFL, PA now demands and is going to just absolutely demand that every single stadium go to grass. If that was I don't know if that was Sam Howell, they doing that. If that was the Redskins quarterback Sam Howell.
The Sam has a lot of sway.
Yeah.
There was
yes, he does.
There was someone, I think, a Philadelphia Eagle, who was talking about the Rodgers injury. And because he's a moron, because he plays for Philly, he's like, well, we all know that turf up in that stadium sucks, going on. And I'm like, you've never played on that turf, you idiot. So,
well, and you're talking about Philly, who used to play at Veterans Stadium on like basically
a
green carpet.
Lot. Yeah, that was a parking
lot. That like outdoor carpet from the 70s they were playing on. Remember that like plastic stuff?
Yeah, they cut out and put in the back of an El Camino, right? Then they just laid it down.
El Camino.
So Novak.
Yeah.
You guys got Dallas this week. What's your prediction on this game?
I would agree with you about I have a good friend, Chris, who's a Cowboys fan. He's not an annoying Cowboy fan, but most Cowboy fans are so fucking annoying that I want this game so badly, I can't even tell you. And they're not even a rival of mine, but that fan base drives me crazy. I think the Jets are going to hang in there. Sadly, I don't think they're going to win. And this will be the last time I say this, I promise. If they had Rodgers, they would win. But I think Zach Wilson is going to shit the bed like he does every single game. They're going to give him a 2-game window, and once he does terrible against the Patriots, they're gonna pull him and find some, aging vet off the street. I think the Jets are going to lose that game 21-17.
Cardone?
For the Jet game or
Jet
our game?
Yeah, the Jet game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know if it's going to be. Again, it's hard not to get swept up with Dallas's performance that we've been talking about here for the last hour. But just for the sheer fact that I would love to see the Jets beat Dallas for, obviously, just for the AFC NFC matchup. I always go for the AFC team no matter who's playing. I want as many NFC teams to lose. Dallas, they're our most hated rival and the team that we're disgusted by the most. Yeah, I think Dallas's defense has another, really, really solid game. I was very impressed with the Jet defense the other night. Very impressed. So the Jet, that's one thing that when they're on the field, you don't have to worry about who's at quarterback, right? The Jets have and what I liked about the Jet, their performance is their defense was hyped up going into the season, and they took a good Buffalo offense and made them look very pedestrian. So yeah, I think it will be a low-scoring game, but I do think Dallas comes out on top. So I'm going to go. I don't know. I'm going to go with an awkward score of 22 to 16.
Yeah. Okay, Mike.
I don't trust Zach Wilson out there against the Cowboys defense. That's really all I have to say. I'll take another shot at the offensive line. The big question for the Jets was the offensive line all off season. The Giants seem to have solved that problem. The Jets offensive line played just fine. I can't understand.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But Cowboys 27, Jets 6.
Right. That's similar to me. By the way, the Jets offensive line did play decently, except on the play where Rodgers got hurt, where the tackle basically did no lay.
Yeah.
I look at this game as being pretty low scoring, but I don't see the Jets scoring that much on the defense of Dallas. So I'm interested to see if Dallas's D is real. But until I see otherwise, I'm saying Dallas 20, Jets 7.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, Novak, you said 21-17 or 24-17?
21-17.
Okay. All
right. Now Greg has given the Giants score against Arizona as 20-16. I'll go to our guest first, Novak. Giants score against the Arizona Cardinals.
And this is no shade. I think this is going to be the most boring game of the week. Giants 13, Arizona 6.
Wow.
Old school.
Yeah.
I'll take it if it's a win.
I think they're going to win, but I think Arizona's garbage. I think the Giants will win this game.
Mike.
I like the Giants to win this game because this is the perfect opponent for what just happened. And like we've talked about, I don't want to think about the ramifications if we don't. So I can't even let my mind go there. So I'm going to say the Giants win this, not a Grey Goose fashion, but fairly comfortably. I got the Giants 24, Cardinals 13.
Cardone.
This is a strange one, guys, because I feel like in the time we've been predicting the scores, I feel like every time I say the Giants are going to win, they lose, and vice versa. So I don't want to pick the Cardinals just because, well, just the karma of it, where the Giants win based on my pick. I got to pick based on what I actually think might happen, right? So I do too. I think somehow the Giants. You're right, Mike. This is the best opponent we could possibly face, even though it's on the road, but this is probably the best opponent that we could be facing after that week 1 disaster. So I think the Giants kind of squeak it out. It's going to be close because I said we don't beat anybody by more than 1 score. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game. It's hard to give the Giants even, more than a couple touchdowns based on what we saw offensively the other night. So I'll put it at like, give me the Giants 19-13.
Well, now I watched a fair amount of the Arizona Redskin game. If I wasn't watching the Packers Bears, so during that time I looked and I mean the defensive line for the Cardinals was not bad, and so it's going to test our offensive line here. But I do think we are going to scheme. You're going to see rollouts. You're going to see the bootlegs from Daniel Jones. I am a little concerned after seeing the game against Dallas that Daniel Jones is going to take some shots this year that he's going to have to survive. And I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm also a little bit worried about Waller's hamstring holding up for the entire year. But I look at this as this is a bounce back win. This is a win that puts us on the right track until we get demolished by San Francisco a few days later. And I think we win 24-12, 24-13. Actually, put me down at 24-13.
That's the same as Cardone's.
24-13?
No, I said 19-13. Giants.
Oh, it's the same as mine. I said Giants 24-13. Yeah,
all right.
So Mike and I always seem to have.
We pick close scores usually, Scott.
By the way, are you guys surprised that the line has moved? The Giants are giving now 5.5. I think it opened at 4.5. Are you surprised by that?
I am not, because of Josh Dobbs alone. I mean, you look. This is such a quarterback league, and I'll tell you what. I mean, you see, Indianapolis didn't look that bad in the first game, but if you look at that game, they're not favored by a whole lot against Houston. So there's a lot of early on. There's not much to take from week 1. I mean, guys, we got blown out, but we could easily win a game, or we can lose the game, and then it starts a trend. I mean, but there's not a lot to take from week 1 that impacts the lines.
I really think if the Giants lose this game, guys, we're going into a death spiral that ends in a top 3 or 4 pick. I really do.
Fully agree with that, Mike.
The confidence will be gone. The coaches will lose the team. Players with minor injuries will not play games. You'll start to see receivers sitting out games, and Waller. This thing could go into a really bad spiral if they lose this game.
I agree. We might have Justin Pugh suiting up for us by week 5.
Yeah,
he's angling to be back on the Giants.
Is he?
All right.
I didn't even hear that.
All right, so we're late into the pod. We need to get to pet peeves. I'm going to start pet peeves with Mike.
Yeah, good. I need to get this off my chest. So my pet peeve this week, guys, is myself. And I think everybody danced all over this tonight. Everybody mentioned something to this effect. I was so afraid someone was going to blow it out of the water. I am 53 years old. I do not have children. However, I have a beautiful wife who I love very much. I have a good job. I have awesome friends, including all you guys here. I live pretty much a life of leisure. I should be a happy guy. And I let an NFL football team ruin everything. I really do. It negatively impacts my relationships with people. It makes people think I'm a jackass when I really generally, outside of watching the Giants, don't feel like I am. It just, it affects my work. You're not sleeping on Sunday night after that. It's just not. It's pathetic. I'm 53. I buy jerseys of 20-year-old guys. I give them more money than they already make. Just some of them doing nothing. Some of them sucking really bad. I've got to tell you, I've got this Thibodeau jersey, guys. I might be tearing the nameplate off of that, calling it a Collins jersey. Before too long. He hasn't been super impressive.
Mike, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
We're fine. We're fine.
Meanwhile, everything's burning around us. That's fine. So that's my pet peeve is just myself my reaction to these games. I should be a better person than this, but I'm not.
I have to say this. Cardone called me on Tuesday, I think it was, Monday night maybe. And
it was Monday.
We were I told him, I said, I had no words. I was numb. Numb was the best way to describe the aftermath of this game.
Yeah. Answer me this question, right? Why am I embarrassed by that effort? What do I have to do with that effort? Why am I won't talk to people because I'm embarrassed? Like what? Why is this affecting my life? It's so flippin' dumb.
Well, one thing I've said, I kind of alluded to this just before, is that I like it does. It let me know that, wow, people care about me, because like you said, Novak was saying the same thing. Like, we're getting health checks from people, like sort of like, I had that the first time I had COVID. I had people like texting me like, Cardone, how you feeling? I'm like, I was able to like, I'm hanging in there, I'm good. It was the same kind of thing. Like, Cardone, you doing all right? Like, I couldn't see very well while it was going on, but I was able to muster up a text to let people know I'm alive, I'm breathing, thank you. Like I was alive. Yeah.
I had a same thing. Like, I haven't so I'm going to my homecoming in like a month or so, and I talked to the director of alumni engagement to help us set up a reservation, whatever. I talked to this guy, and I haven't talked to him in 20 years.
This is Susquehanna?
Hey, Susquehanna. And he goes,
yes.
Hey, you're a Jets fan, right? I'm like, how the fuck do you remember that about me? I've talked to you 3 times in my life. Like, this is my identity. It's the Jets. Like, how pathetic is that? So Mike is 100% right. It's a great pet peeve. Why is my life known by everyone else who knows me around this loser organization?
And with
it's
that,
an addiction,
Novak,
man.
I'm going to throw the pet peeve to Novak after that.
So my pet peeve is something we talk about all the time. I'll make it quick. It is clearly what the NFL must tell these commentators about who you can and who you cannot criticize. And it is, they cannot criticize these rookie quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, I was watching this game. He eludes 2 tackles and throws it into triple coverage. And the 2 Raven players bang into each other and the ball falls to the ground. And the commentator goes, the escapability of CJ Stroud. Escapability, he threw it into triple coverage. And it almost then I flip the channel. Same thing, Richardson, right? The Colts. Mm-hmm. He gets a 2-yard, he runs for 2 yards. Meanwhile, Mo Alley Cox is like this, 7 yards away. Throw it to me, I'm wide open. Doesn't see him, runs for 2 yards, and they go, the pocket presence to know it was collapsing. He could have had 9 yards, said he got 1. And then I flip on Baker Mayfield, right? He escapes the tackle, throws it a little bit past the tight end. He's got to be better with his throws. It's like, you can say it about Baker Mayfield, but these 2, you can't say a word. So that's my pet peeve. Like, they clearly say you can talk negatively about this one and this one, not that one, not that one. 100%.
One of my favorite moments on Sunday. So we were driving back from Clemson. So I didn't get home till I think it was 1:50. So early part of the games. I was listening to the NFL radio and just sort of flipping around. And they happened to be on the Panther game. And same thing, Bryce Young, he makes it was like a 2nd and 7. And he throws the ball away or he does something. And the presence of Bryce Young to understand there was pressure in his face. He is just in control of this game. And then 10 seconds later, they're like, well, the Panthers have to call a timeout for delay a game. It's like, wait a minute. He threw a ball out of bounds. Now he's in so much control. He's going to call a timeout because they're getting down to the play clock at 1. And you're right, Novak. I mean, it's like that. It's not just rookie quarterbacks. It's basically any quarterback to their liking. This was the first week I did hear Justin Fields take some shit, but it's the same way. I mean, a quarterback no longer is judged on how they command the game. They're judged on whether or not they can escape a pass rush, even if it doesn't result in a good output.
I mean, Burrow threw for 82 yards, and all they could talk about was the rain and his glove he was wearing. That's the excuse. He played terrible. He played awful.
Yeah. By the way, the Burrow, it's interesting you brought that up because I noticed this as well. And they did have a horrible game. It was the second worst performance of the week behind the Giants was with their Cincinnati Bengals. But and this may mean nothing to most people, I really didn't care for Joe Burrow's fucking body language in that game. Like, I know when they were like, that bothers me as a fan. When I notice that kind of shit, I'm like, oh, okay. So like, did you guys notice like, and they were getting beat. There's no question. But man, was he absolutely? He looked stoned.
Yeah, he was like a pompous a-hole. Is what
he did.
Yes,
he did.
I know.
And I'm telling you, it tells you a lot about some of these players. We're like, again, we know about his. I don't know what person. I don't know why we're so infatuated with Joe Burrow. I mean, I'm not his quarterbacking. I'm talking about what he wears to the fucking stadium or what all that other stuff. Why? I'm not seeing it. I don't see this guy's personality. What am I missing? So that I zeroed in on that. I wasn't even planning to talk about that, but when you just brought up Burrow's name, it just triggered my memory. I'm like, I just didn't care for that at all, man. It just said a lot. I thought about his, I don't know, his leadership right there in a game where you're just getting beat, man.
Novak, you made two really good points there, and it's funny. I wrote down one, and you guys probably heard it. Now Novak said he was in a coma, so he might not have heard this. I only watched like till the middle of the third quarter of the Bills Jets. But at one point, Zach Wilson throws a pass into triple coverage, and it goes incomplete. Mm-hmm. And Collinsworth says, you can't make that throw. That is a terrible read by Zach Wilson. And I'm thinking, what if Justin Fields made that throw?
They would never.
What if Aaron Rodgers had just made that throw?
100%.
I mean, I was just thinking, I was like, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's got the arm talent to get it in that window. It just, you're right. They have people who's go after him. Go get him.
They must have a list, right?
Yeah,
they start the game with a red or a green. You can talk shit about this one, not this one. Like I'm telling you, they must.
But furthermore, Novak, what bothers me is that they unanimously across the NFL landscape, they all adopt that same mantra where that one guy will say, yeah, fuck that. I'm not going with that mindset or that thought process. I'm going to go my own way and they won't do it. I guess I don't know what would happen, but why? That's what bothers me even more is that everyone adopts that same thought process like a robot. They all think the same thing.
I am getting really tired of Chris Collinsworth and his, hey, guys, now listen here. I mean, Dallas's offense is elite here. And it's just the way he presents everything to me just bothers the shit out of me because as a former wide receiver, I would think at least when he's talking about the offense, sure, talk about Dallas's defense being elite, but mention that maybe that pass interference on Hawkins wasn't pass interference, or maybe mention that, Dak was not that efficient in that game. But no. There's a script there that you have to stick to.
You can't break the narrative. And I'll tell you, that commercial where they jokingly are like, oh, the script for this year, they're all yucking it up. Fuck those guys. Nobody is saying that that's what we mean by scripted. Nobody is saying that.
Yep.
The script is what you guys are talking about right now. There's certain guys who are good and there's certain guys who are bad, and they all abide by it. And I think the reason is because it's like this fraternity where no one's going to show anyone else up. All right. Oh, yeah. We make these. We can't have one guy out there calling out Justin Fields. If next year he's not on an NFL roster, then there's only one guy who was right. We all got to go. We got to win or lose as a fraternity. It's crazy. Great.
Novak. Pet peeve?
That was mine.
Oh, that was your, that's Cardone, right?
Uh-oh.
No, me. Yeah, I have.
Are the Bengals playing their starters?
Yeah, right.
I did not have a work event tonight.
I have two of them, if you don't mind. I'll slip both of them in because I'll make these quick, guys. I'm going to go all the way back to Thursday night, the opening night. Lions at Kansas City. Lions were very impressive in that game. I'll start with that, but I'm going to go off the field on that one. And now we're it's not bad enough to have players and everybody else mic'd up in these interviews in the middle of the games and coaches before halftime and shit. Now we're miking up players' parents in the fucking stands with Aiden Hutchinson, who had a great game, right? The guy, this guy's a beast out there on the Lions defensive end, the defensive line, had a great game. But we're getting check-ins with his mom and dad, who look like they were 3 rows from the top of the stadium. Like, what bothers me, but we have to hear from Hutchinson's parents now in the middle of the game. Why do we feel necessary to do this in the middle of an NFL broadcast.
The worst part about that is that they just want to find a way to get Hutchinson's mom on camera.
Fair.
It is so obvious.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of there's plenty of other social media platforms or whatever. There's plenty of platforms out there that we can get this person in our sightline somewhere else besides listening to her in the middle of an NFL Thursday night game. Not disagreeing with you there, Scott, but but I wanted to bring up one little point about that also. Is that I would love the sound guy going up to Mr. Hutchinson. Hey, sir, we're going to mic you during the game and so we can. No, you're not. Like I'm watching my son's game and find somebody else. Like I'm not agreeing to this. Why? How about just saying no? Screw that. I'm not doing that. And what bothered me also is at one point, remember that when the Lions ran the fake punt early in the game and they converted on a fake punt,
like their own 20.
Yeah.
Right. So they go to Hutchinson's parents, right? And hasn't the mom been watching her son play football since he's fucking peewee football? I had to hear Mr. Hutchinson say to his wife, they just ran a fake punt. Because she's probably sitting there like, what happened? I didn't see what Did you see a fucking ball in the air? No. They didn't fumble it. They obviously snapped it to the up man. It was a fake punt. Have you never seen this? Have you never watched these games? So I got to listen to this instead of watching what's going on in the field. I got to hear Mrs. Hutchinson ask her husband, what the hell just happened on the play? Turn her off.
The best part about that game to me was afterwards when Kadarius Toney is going after Giant fans the next night after he just cost his team an epic portion.
Single-handed.
There's a stat out there.
He lost that game.
Kadarius Toney had, I don't even know what it is. It's like points against or some shit. It's like the baseball equivalent of WAR. He cost his team the most points ever from any player.
Is that right?
Since they've been doing this.
That's amazing. Yeah. You can single-handedly pin that loss on Kadarius Toney, but I'll slip in a mini little pet peeve when the fact that you have 4 AFC teams beat 4 NFC teams. I'm sorry, the other way around. 4 NFC teams beat 4 AFC teams. So when you're thinking playoff positioning and all that stuff, you couldn't even get one of those. So you're welcome, Novak, that all 4 of the NFCs beat the AFCs last week. But I have one more, Scott, if you don't mind, if I sneak this one in. So and I love Peyton Manning, love the Manning cast. I absolutely love those guys. I mean, it's just a great, entertaining listen, right, for those guys. But I was bothered by Peyton Manning's reaction, his body language, the whole thing, when the Buffalo Bills decided to kick a field goal to get points on the board on the third drive of the game in a scoreless game. It's 4th and 2 at the Jet 22. So you try now, Bass, for a 40-yard field goal. And before the play, Peyton is sitting there. They're going to go for it. And they try not the field goal unit on, and he's pissed off. I've brought this up many times, so it's not even a new pet peeve. I'm like, how did we get to this point where kicking a field goal is that we can't? It's not acceptable anymore unless it's at the end of the first half or the end of the game to win the game. No, we're not allowed to kick fucking field goals anymore. How did this happen?
So that's a great one, Cardone, because I had heard about that. And you think about the Bills situation. That might have been the smartest call for a field goal in 10 years. You're playing Zach Wilson all of a sudden. You're playing an awesome defense. You got to figure 13 points probably wins this game. Now, it didn't turn out that way, but that's what the coach is thinking.
Sure, totally.
The coach is thinking 13 points probably wins this game. Here's 3 of them. Here's 33% of the points that I need right here on this play. That is a great coaching.
Well, and if they settle for a field goal later rather than throw an interception, they win the game.
Yeah.
But guys, I was really bothered by Peyton Manning, wouldn't he agree? And I know he's probably thinking from the quarterback standpoint, he wants to go for it and score as many points as possible. Quarterbacks are always pissed off when they don't go for it. You see that a lot when they're bringing on the field goal unit. That's fair. So he's thinking, but now you're no longer playing the game anymore, Peyton. So think about it as a analyst and say, hey, you know what? Division game. You're on the road. Monday night, it's a scoreless game. John Madden said it back in the day. We're take every get opportunity to put as many points on the board as you possibly can. I can't stand the fact that kicking a field goal now is this sense of defeat, and that you can't. Yeah. And it's shameful now for these coaches to not go for it. And I just thought of another one. I didn't even see it live, but here the Panther game, you got a rookie quarterback making his first NFL start, and Carolina decides to pass up on a field goal early in that game. They decide to go for it and not get it. You got a fucking rookie quarterback, and these coaches will refuse to kick field goals. I'm missing it, guys. I don't get it, man. Am I that old school? What's going on?
Anytime someone is inside the 35 now, I hear, is this 4-down territory? That's a question the analyst always asks during the drive. And you're saying to yourself, what if it's 4th and 2 and I'm at the 22, why not kick the field goal? Why not get the points there?
I don't know. Buffalo had 4th and 2. It wasn't 4th and 1 inch. It was 4th and 2. What's the conversion rate? I don't know. Probably not as good as a 40-yard field goal going through the uprights.
It's completely changed how we watch football too. I mean, you think about back in the day, just right in that 50-yard line zone, right? And it's 3rd and 7. And, the receiver catches the ball in the backfield and you make a great play, get him out of bounds or tackle him. So now it's 4th and 2. That's not a good stop for the defense anymore. You've given up too many yards and they're going to go for it and they're probably going to get it.
It's nuts.
It's changed the entire way you think about the game. I mean, you no longer think about, just get a stop here. You think about they have to gain no yards.
Well, guys, even if you look at the Lions game on Lions Chief game on Thursday, you talked about the fake punt, but even after that, there were a couple of times the Lions went for it when they didn't make it. The Chiefs didn't capitalize on it. If you guys watched the Eagles Patriots game, a couple of times the Eagles went for it and they didn't make it. And by all rights, the Eagles should have lost that game and they didn't. And that's what pisses me off. It's not one of my pet peeves, but Nick Sirianni and his shit-eating grin during that game, this guy is such a fucking asshole because, I mean, they really should have had to pay for some of the mistakes they made and they didn't. Meanwhile, the Giants are losing 40-0,
Paying for every mistake, by the way, everyone.
So my pet peeve goes to refereeing. So there's an article in SI talking about the impending officiating situation that's happening. Basically, they can't find young guys coming up through the ranks because they don't want to take the shit at the lower levels to get experience, to be able to be experienced enough to referee. And to me, it almost read as if they were saying it's okay why we have older guys because, they're more experienced. They've been through the war and stuff like that. But in 10 years from now, we're going to have a problem. The bigger problem I had in that article is that they actually said several times that everyone agrees that the state of officiating now is better than it's ever been. And I completely disagree with that. I mean,
that's a crazy statement.
And then watching week 1, I find myself watching that Chiefs game where they're allowing a tackle to move early multiple times. I mean, let's not bottom line it here. It's not like it was once, it wasn't twice. It was basically every goddamn play this guy wanted to move early, they allowed him to. Meanwhile, Andrew Thomas moves early, it's seen automatically. And that's the way it should be. There was never, when we were growing up, guys, a false start was if a guy twitched.
Yeah.
If his nose hair moved.
Yeah.
The flag came out. It was no argument. It was this guy moved 5 yards. That's it. Nowadays, we're like, well, maybe we'll let the guy move early because the guy beside him is going to be pretty quick. So we've gotten to that point. Now, what bothered me too about this, so put that article aside. Al Riveron, who is now, in the replay booth, he said, and this is going to anger Novak a little bit, but on that game-winning punt return, there was a blatant trip on the side. And Al Riveron said the trip on the punt return really wasn't a trip. And he said if you break things down frame by frame, you can see a penalty any play you want. But in full time, that's really hard to see. I will tell you this, guys. Trips are almost always called, especially in the field of play. Now, I'm not upset that this wasn't called. I don't care that it wasn't called. What I do care about is that the head of refereeing is saying, hey, we didn't miss that call.
Yeah.
He actually said that this was a good job by our referees. No, it wasn't. there was a penalty that allowed the game-winning score to happen. And my biggest point here is that the head of the guy that's watching the replay booth is saying that, we made the right call there. And to me, that's just illustrative of where we are with refereeing right now. We don't care if we get it right. All we care is that it doesn't impact the flow of the game. And Chris Collinsworth actually let the genie out of the bottle during the Giants game. I don't know if you guys heard this, but he basically said, and I'm going to quote this. He said, guys, the game is set up to have the offense score points. You don't want to touch receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to impede progress. The game is set up to score points, and teams have to adapt to that. Why the fuck do teams have to adapt to that? I don't understand why we have to accept this as fact. Let defenses play.
If the game is set up for the offenses to score points, why do the officials have to continually make bad calls against the defenses to make that happen?
Exactly. Bailouts on third downs are killing us. Not just the Giants. I'm just saying it's killing the NFL. You see a bailout on a 3rd and 10 on a non-existent penalty. That's not setting the offense up. That's just artificially increasing the score.
Artificially creating drama. Everything you just said, Scott, goes back to one word we've mentioned many times here about the NFL in general, and especially about officiating. It's gaslighting.
Yeah.
It is everyone agrees that the state of the NFL officiating is better now than it's ever been. Nobody agrees with that. Nobody agrees with that. Now, I'll bet if you asked 100 people who are called themselves football fans, if you ask them, is the officiating better than it's ever been, you might get 2 people to say yes, maybe. I'm thinking that's unanimous. And then the last thing about, hey, I know this looks like a penalty, but it's not. That is actually what gaslighting is. That is the textbook definition of gaslighting. Yes. So that's, what are you going to do?
Guys, we had some questions come in. I think we addressed all the questions. The only thing I would say to Novak is there is something out there. Any interest in Kaepernick for the Jets?
Come on. No, and can we stop with the Colin Kaepernick, right?
By the way, Eli Manning's available too.
Yeah, but what year? The guy's been out for like 7 years. When does it stop? This is not just the Jets. This is his name comes up every time a quarterback gets injured. He is not coming back. It's been 7 years. Why don't we just ask for Jamarcus Russell?
You know,
why is it Colin Kaepernick?
Why don't you bring Vinny Testaverde back?
Seriously. So no, he is not coming back.
Guys, you got anything else tonight?
I have one real quick thing.
Yep.
I want to get serious for 1 second. I clearly have a drinking problem. And last week when I made my Super Bowl picks, I picked the Giants. I'm asking for a new one. Can I repick my predictions, please?
What?
Yes.
What?
I clearly have a drinking problem.
Yes. Repick.
Okay, good. Are you really going to allow that?
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
depending on who it is, we don't have to accept it, but we want to hear it.
I'll take the Bills and the Eagles. There you go. Sorry.
That was my pick. I got Bills.
Oh,
I got
all right,
Bills. No, it's I got Bills over Eagles.
I didn't write mine down. We didn't talk about Justin Fields, and the only reason I want to get a little bit of that in this week is because Scott said it. He said, "Hey, he's getting some heck this weekend," and he has. But there is an article on ESPN.com and a linked video to one of their talk shows. The article basically somehow blames Chase Claypool's lackluster blocking. Just for those of you who don't know, he's a wide receiver. So that's literally there's a whole article about how he is killing the Bears.
We talked about this, guys. He didn't throw a pass 4 yards forward until the third quarter. Not one. He was throwing it behind the line of scrimmage.
I love it.
Our buddy Dan Orlovsky, although he finally admitted on TV, he's like, look, Justin Fields didn't play great. I'm not defending Justin Fields. So when someone says but, everything after the but is doing what they just said they weren't doing, right? So I'm not defending Justin Fields, but Jesus Christ couldn't have beat the Packers. something to that effect. With the way the rest of the Bears performed, Jesus Christ couldn't have played a good quarterback.
And who was the quarterback of the Packers?
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love. So Jordan Love, who has had less experience than Justin Fields, outplayed Justin Fields by a mile.
Oh my gosh. He looks like he's got something there.
I'll be so mad if he's good. You don't get to go from Favre to Rodgers to have another good
it's
quarterback.
So true,
Mike.
Mike.
That's not.
That's so true.
It's not
but
how
like,
this works.
Well, if you want to go again with the NFL gods, like the opposite of the Jet franchise, it's like the Packer franchise. It's the opposite, like where they just have great quarterbacks forever. So Jordan Love probably will be a stud. That's just the way it works.
Well, he'll be a Jet in 2040.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to cut it down to 2031, but that's okay. All right, guys, hit us up on Twitter at @angry_3. A lot of the questions you guys asked, we addressed at some point. I know one was about if Cardone went blind again. He did not. He went more numb than anything else. But we appreciate all the feedback. We appreciate all the support for this podcast, and it's been great. We did go long again, so we're almost at 2 hours tonight.
I know. This is therapy.
Our next podcast has to be about 16 minutes.
Yeah.
If you guys don't have anything else, let's say goodnight, and we will see you next week. And we will be recapping the Giants and Cardinals and the Dallas and Jet game.
Giants better win.
Peace.
They better win. And it better not even be close. We will have a meltdown.